Hello, my name is Nicolas Polimenakos. I help out behind the scenes here at NORWAC, the Northwest Astrological Conference. Today I'm with Kristin Fontana. Hello, Kristin.
Hey, how you doing today?
I'm great. Before we went on, we are talking about Pacific Northwest overcast weather. I think we're used to it over the years, but at the same time, I was kind of like, I wonder when the sun's gonna show up. But that's how it is up here. May 22nd to the 26th in another city in the Pacific Northwest, just
Yes.
outside of Seattle. NORWAC is going to happen. It is sold out in person, but available online to anybody in the world. You can go to norwac.net if you're interested to see the registration rates, the speaker lineup, the schedule, the pre and post conference workshop. It's all there. Kristen, you're speaking at the conference.
Yeah.
Two lectures. The first one's on Saturday, May 24th, is called Jupiter in Cancer, Leading Your Horse to Water. Tell us a little bit about it. Um,
Yeah. I mean, I was excited about this talk because Jupiter's about to enter the sign of Cancer in June and June 9th. And we're going from air to water. It's going to feel very different, right? With water, it's the first water sign of the zodiac. It's naturally going to lead us to the water. It's up to us whether we get into it or not, being our emotional bodies. And we all evolve through our emotional body. There's a limit to what the mind can access. Can only go so far with the mind. So if we want to go deeper into our journey, deeper into our soul's awareness, we have to get into the river. We have to get into the water. And the Cancer archetype will lead us there and will encourage us to go there, to be more vulnerable in our life so we can evolve, so we can experience more feeling, more emotion, more connection. So we're all experiencing Jupiter in Cancer, but we are experiencing it in a different area of our life depending on where Jupiter is transiting through your chart. So I'm going to talk about what does it mean for all of us to have Jupiter in Cancer, and I will get more specific deeper into the lecture
yeah,
as
no,
far as the
that's interesting.
houses.
Right now, I'm like, just hearing that, I'm like, you're right. That shift that happens from air to water is huge. It's
Hmm.
huge, and I'm sure there's people who are psyched for this transit because their mind's been overloaded, for a year.
Exactly.
So yeah, and I also think about the Mars retrograde that happened in Cancer, what we've dealt
Mm,
with here lately, and how, in one sense, certain things that maybe might have come up around that time, and so that story
mm.
continues here,
Good
but in a
point.
completely different way with Jupiter.
Yeah. Well,
Also, it's the day that you're doing that lecture is the same. It's the same day that Saturn goes into Aries. And so,
yeah.
again, I think a lot of people's focus will, be Saturn, but um, there's nothing like Jupiter coming in the room, uh, just to,
I don't
talk
know.
in a
We
different type of way. Yeah.
we all need a little Jupiter when there's a lot of Saturn that we're feeling, right? Because
Yeah.
I mean, Jupiter is a very buoyant energy. It can also show us the truth of something, which isn't always feel good if it's not something we want to see or feel. I mean, with Saturn and Aries, it's so direct,
Yeah.
right? And Jupiter is so revealing in a sense. But it's just I feel like a nice pairing. They're both cardinal archetypes. With cardinal energy, even with Saturn and Aries, it's a cardinal archetype. There's insecurity with it because it's new. It's brand
Mhm.
new. We have no idea what's coming. And so I think that it's a good partnership. They pair well together because with Cardinal, we want to take risks. We want to evolve. We want to move forward. And it's what when you said about the Mars retrograde in Cancer, that was great preparation
Mhm.
for this. Although I think a much more difficult transit.
Yeah.
Mars retrograde in Cancer, very tender, very vulnerable. And yeah, it prepared us, but I feel like with Jupiter and Cancer, it's an opportunity to springboard then from how you've grown, those waters you've been already feeling into, maybe bathing in still, but to give you more faith and more optimism about what you can do in those waters of your life.
Yeah, yeah, in the sense of moving on, let's say,
Yeah.
moving through in the Cancer part of one's chart. So yeah, one more thing I will say about this that came up is thinking about what NORWAC is as a conference, for 41 years here. It's the Albanians, Maggie, who started this conference, Laura, her daughter, runs it. The whole sense of family, it's always been there. And that's another thing I think about with Cancer or something like Jupiter and Cancer is like what the family is and what the
Mm,
unit is and what happens there and how it moves forward too. You could think
mm,
about this in that sense. So anyway, that came up for me too when you were just talking. You're doing
yeah.
this lecture on the 24th on Saturday, 10:30 a.m. There's another lecture next day that you'll will be facilitating. It's on Sunday, and it's called "Recovering Skipped Steps." The goddess takes a leap. This is interesting. Can I read the first sentence of the copy here?
Sure.
Yeah, it says the goddess asteroids weave tales of truth about how a woman's personal power has been diminished as a result of thousands of years of patriarchal distortion. So, so there you're coming in on Sunday. Tell us a little bit about this.
Oh yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, my greatest passion over the years has been to help women empower themselves in areas where they have felt limited, whether it's fear or resistance or trauma, whatever it might be. And in evolutionary astrology, one of the foundational principles or one of the ways that we address the chart first is we look to see if there's any planets squaring the nodes.
Mhm.
And we do always start with Pluto, the soul. But before we can even look at how the soul evolves, we want to know if there's anything in the way. What's been getting in the way? What are the repeating themes? Where has the soul become stuck on their evolutionary path, maybe for lifetimes? And so I want to teach the foundational principle about skip steps, which involves a planet squaring the nodal axis, which is more common than people realize because we've all been living in a patriarchal culture. 70 to 75% of the choices that any soul makes is a result of what's hidden or lives in the subconscious. And
Mhm.
if we've all been living for lifetimes making choices out of fear of what might happen or resistance, there's going to be a block to our nature. There's going to be a block to the soul's natural vibration. So we want to address what's been in the way and we address the skip steps so the soul can evolve. And so what I decided to do for Sunday is to look at the goddess asteroids to teach this instead of using a planet per se to show how three women in particular have been able to empower themselves with this very symbol in their chart and it's expressed in their life in black and white. So I love looking at the goddess asteroids because they fill in the details. There are stories, there are elements, there's energy that reflects that soul's journey that when they learn about it, it helps them have the courage, to remove what's been in the way and to empower themselves with what it is that they've come here to do.
Yeah, again, I like sometimes there's like distinct storylines you hear from people and clients and stuff. We have the general archetypes to deal with astrology, but sometimes things are very detailed, very specific stories, and I always you always catch that thing, that connection with the goddess asteroids. They fill in that story.
Yeah, they
They fill in,
do.
and so many people over the years where they discover the asteroids or some particular story, and they're like, "That's me," That's it. That's how I truly, feel, or I've walked that story. I've walked that path, or I'm in the middle of that path. So yeah, no, I'm really glad this is on the schedule for Sunday. It's been really interesting. So,
Yeah.
again, anybody out there, you're interested in catching Kristen's lectures, you can go to norwac.net, check out all the information that's there. You can see the schedule, et cetera, et cetera. For people who are online and are attending online, there's besides the lectures, there's actually these Q&As that happen in between the lectures, and the speakers who are involved with the conference are part of the Q&As. Kristen, you're going to be part of a Q&A that happens on Saturday at 5 o'clock. It's yourself, Colin Bedell, Wendy Stacy, Kira Sutherland, and Kim Marie Weimer. And Laura, who runs the conference, will be facilitating. People in the online part of the chat will ask questions, and the speakers, will answer questions, or they find themselves on an interesting subject because of a question. and they talk about it in a pretty free-flowing improvisational type of conversation. So that's happening in between the lectures, along with a Saturday night ascendant party where people are going to dress up a certain way online.
Oh,
Yeah.
online
Um,
too?
what was that?
Online, you said?
Yeah, yeah. So Samantha, another astrologer, kind of facilitates that. So it's like a party, you know.
Yeah.
And even on the Thursday, I think we're going to open up the room before the conference for anybody registered to come hang out and meet each other online. I'll be popping in and out when I can during the weekend while I'm there. Not only that, anybody who buys in on the weekend, you have 2 weeks to watch all the lectures after the weekend. So there's just a bunch of different ways of what the online thing is, for NORWAC. So it's pretty cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Um, Again, that's at norwac.net. Kristen, thanks for coming on and chatting.
Yeah. Thank you, Nicholas. It was wonderful to share space with you. And we have Athena in the background, so
Yeah, Athena guides me. Athena guides me.
yeah.
Yeah, one of my guides. One of my guides. Yeah, it's gonna be good to see you in person at the conference,
Yeah,
Kristen.
well, indeed. I'm looking forward to a live visit. So much has been going on Zoom and online, so I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of people live again. It's been a
Yeah,
while.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, all right. Well, thanks for coming on and check. Oh, anybody watching these videos, I got a playlist going on, so you'll see something in the middle of the screen right now, and you'll press that. You can watch the rest of the playlist. All right. See you
All right.
later.
Namaste.